Welcome to Circle the Wagons. Circle the Wagons is a panel discussion of one political topic per episode. Our distinguished panel members will bring multiple perspectives to surround the issue and introduce viable solutions. Now it's time to buckle up and get ready to Circle the Wagons. Welcome back. We have got the Circle the Wagons podcast crew, the OG crew, back in the house. Josh Hatfield, the outspoken Lamanite, Joel Hunt, the sailor who's been lost at sea or something, and the lovely Momma D, the boss of the operation. Welcome back, everybody. How's life been going?
And Joe Mays.
And me.
Joe Mays.
And I.
You gotta introduce yourself.
Your occasionally humble host.
That's kind of how that works.
Or producer, not really host. We're all co-hosts. I'm just the producer. I'm just the guy that mashes buttons.
So Joel's back.
Joel is back.
It is I am here.
The last podcast that we did was just the three of us, Josh, Diane, me. Charlie has been wrapped up in school and all those things that Charlies do. Joel has been the one lost at sea. Tell us about your adventures, man. Welcome back. Give us the war story.
What you can. Yeah.
What you can.
Keep the classified stuff to our signal chat.
Actually, yes, because the entirety while I was there, we were in a secured and classified space. Everything had to be shredded, blah, blah, this and that. All of our notes, again, were all shredded. Can't say much about it, but I will say that 14-hour days every day, like back to back through weekends, is not fun. It never is, because like when you're on deployment, it's 12+ hour days, rotations. You don't get weekends until you actually hit a port. They'll do like holiday routine on Sundays sometimes, which basically just means you kind of get off for a partial day on Sunday. But I still got to go see a few things. I still got to go visit some things on like a 2.5 day kind of like leave. Not really. Went to Kyoto, went to go see the actual original castle, because if you know anything about Japanese history, during the Meiji Restoration, the capital of Japan got moved from Kyoto to Tokyo. So the Nijojo temple in Kyoto was the original. I say original. It was like a whole thing with like the shogun like relinquishing control of the country back to the emperor. It was a whole thing. So that was really cool. They have what are called nightingale floors, which basically means it's like a way that the construction is with like the nails. So when you're walking, it just kind of sounds like birds are chirping. So that way you can't be snuck up on one, but it's really pretty when you like listen to it. Normally it's not 1,000 people and they're walking around because there was a bunch of us. So it was just like constant overload, but it was really, really pretty. So if you've never heard about nightingale floors, go look at that. Went to go. We did a lot of things throughout that 2.5 day span, including going to Ghibli Park. So if you're a big fan of like Studio Ghibli movies, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro, stuff like that, they have a great park out there that does like little things you can go do and see, like Tatsumaki Mae's house and stuff. So you can like go in and tour those things. You can go tour the castle. But as far as work goes, I can't really say much more than we just kind of war gamed scenarios. Pretty much what's happening right now abroad, we were actually already kind of war gaming that stuff for if that were to happen in the Pacific area of responsibility for us, also known as AOR.
That was the one thing that when I was in the service, whenever someone would ask, well, what were you doing down there? And I would say, especially when I was in special ops, say, just go watch the news.
Yeah, literally just go watch the news. Everything that's happening there, we were already like preparing for those things to happen in that area. So that's pretty much all that I can say outside of, for me, because my job is not as cool. I just made that sound. I just made sure that the computers and telephones and everything were working, making sure that like people had the right numbers of places, because when you don't have good numbers in emergencies, or you don't have good contact information in emergencies, things can go really bad really quick. Despite what our current Secretary of Defense calls the fog of war, that's not what it means, what he says.
Correct.
So,
the what of war?
Fog of war.
Thought?
Fog.
The fog of
war.
Foghorn Leghorn about the.
Oh yes, Foghorn Leghorn. Yes. Well, no, it's
just the horn or the leghorn. So just fog.
Like, generally, just like it's just so much more than just a lack of information. And so that's kind of like what I try and make sure I mitigate for us locally, and then how information kind of goes back and forth between different portions. But I mean, outside of that, did a lot of eating when I could. Came
Man,
back
how was the sushi?
came back extra fluffy. I actually don't eat other things to eat.
Like, what do you like?
Oh man, so they have other types of noodle dishes for sure. It's really difficult to say like what I do and don't eat on a daily basis because sometimes I don't even know what I'm eating half the time. I just pick things. Hey, I want to try that. I went to what's called an izakaya. So it's basically like a bar that just constantly gives you like appetizers. You can just keep ordering them. And I think we ordered something like 8 or 9 plates of basically like shareable plates and 4 drinks. And it only cost us about like 65 USD because of the exchange rate.
Wow.
But that'll be anything from like roasted kalbi and like some type of seaweed or some type of shrimp roll thing with
Toy.
like a shrimp and cheese dip thing that you use. It's crazy the amount of like how creative they are with their food.
Yeah.
I had at one point I had like some pickle and sea salt ice cream thing that was delicious, and I don't even like pickles like that. I mean, I like pickles, but as itself.
Right.
But it's
Pickles as an ice cream is not common.
yeah, I was like, I don't want to try that, but I tried it and it actually was delicious.
It sounds like it'd be interesting. I'll try anything.
Because they put mayonnaise on a lot of random things that you would not assume it would be good in, and then delicious.
Japanese aioli game is next level.
Oh my gosh. Like if you can ever go get Koopy mayo from like Kroger or something, I would absolutely recommend it. It's better than regular mayo.
All day.
A little bit sweeter and it's not as heavy and it doesn't taste as processed. But it is a bit more expensive though, and especially what's coming up now. But yeah, I mean outside of that, like Japanese trip was great. I'm glad to be back, but I think I'm gonna have to go back for 5 months here in the next week or two. Apparently,
5 months.
apparently I did such a really good job. They wanted me to come back. Just me though. So
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations on that. There's also the other news. I don't know if you're at liberty or interested in sharing that, but that's huge news.
So I actually got selected OCS, so Officer Candidate School for the Navy. So for one of the more competitive designators communities that we have for officers.
Yeah.
So that was great. I got that call I think 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's awesome.
So my weekend got bombarded with a ton of officers from all over the world basically giving me calls saying, "Hey, congratulations. You deserve it. It's a great honor. We expect great things from you." So
very cool.
It's been a lot of great things happening lately. But
That's fantastic.
It's a big deal. So yeah, congratulations, man.
Thank you. But I'm glad to be back though, at least for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you.
It's good to see your face.
Yeah.
Good to have. Yeah, good to see you here.
I'm not joshing either.
Corny jokes brought to you today by not us.
But hey, fun fact about the Nazis though is they were not very.
They were not fun.
They were not funny. They didn't like jokes.
Yeah. Fun fact about the Nazis is, unlike the name, not fun. Update real quick on our sponsor, Patchouli Joe's Books and Indulgences. You can see behind me, there's a for sale sign on our shelves. We are downsizing, moving out of the space we're currently in, not sure what's happening next. Either way, we're grateful that Patchouli Joe's Books and Indulgences here in Denton is continues to sponsor us, allow us to use the space. We're grateful to be here. Still open, still selling books, still doing all the things, just on a smaller scale, and not really sure what the next chapter is going to look like, pun intended.
But
yeah. But yeah, that's where we're at here with Patchouli Joe's.
Bittersweet.
Yeah.
It is. It's
transition.
Mostly sweet.
Yeah.
You know, you just we have nothing but positives to say about the community and about our experience with Patchouli
Right now
Joe's.
is a weird time, but we'll make our way out of it. And
well, I mean, all things must
figure
come
it
to an
out.
end at some point. But the idea is giving everything you had in that moment and recognizing, hey, we left nothing on the table.
Yeah.
This was great, but it's time to transition to something new, something different.
Yeah.
Right.
All for freedom and for pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to rule the world.
Something, some sorrows or prayers or
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
something about silver linings and sorrows and prayers. I don't know. I'm not a very well read human being.
Yeah. That is not true. For those of you listening, watching. So
we read a lot.
Yeah, we've got a
We
ton
know
of
that.
things. Did anybody watch the Oscars?
The Oscars. I
Yeah.
did see a clip of Michael B. Jordan winning, but that's the only thing that I saw.
I
a clip of-
cried. I
Yeah.
cried when he won.
Yeah.
I was so excited for him.
I saw a clip of him going to In-N-Out after.
Yeah.
With In and Out.
Yeah,
With
his
his
trophy.
Oscar.
like full on bombarded. You know, the guy doesn't get a moment of peace, but it looked like it was a fun little.
Yeah, it did.
stint.
It did.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course he took his mom, and that was when we walked out of the theater after watching Sinners. The exact comment that I made to Diane is every aspect of that film was flawless. There are those who've criticized, saying that the back half of the film was too choppy, but yet it won Best Original Screenplay, so there had to be something about the story that was award worthy. I feel like Coogler got robbed, although One Battle After the Other
It was
was
fabulous.
also phenomenal. If you
Yes.
haven't watched either one of those, cannot recommend them strongly enough. The third one I'm going to recommend unreservedly. Jessie Buckley won the Best Actress Oscar for Hamnet. Absolutely phenomenal. The visuals, Chloe, and I can't pronounce her last name, the director of that one, absolutely flawless movie.
Highly recommend the book. I think I enjoyed the movie more having read the book and then watching the movie.
Would you recommend reading the book before watching the movie?
I would.
Again,
I would because I felt like I had more insight into
the internal dialogue and what was going on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. There were things that they left out of the movie, which it didn't bother Joe. Joe didn't read the book.
Yeah,
sure.
But for me, I was like, oh, I know what was being thought and what was.
Sure.
And the visuals of those three movies were so distinctive. Paul Thomas Anderson, when he won the director award or best picture, maybe, he said, you look back in 1975, you had Jaws and started rattling Network. I can't remember what they were, rattled off the 5 movies that were nominated. He said there was no best movie in 1975.
Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog Day Afternoon. Yeah. And he just left it at that. And that's what this was like. Any one of those 3 movies could have won. We haven't yet seen Frankenstein. We try to watch as many of the Oscar nominated ones as possible.
Something they definitely changed about this year, though, was like everyone that voted had to watch all of the movies, which apparently wasn't a thing until this
How
year.
insane that
That's
that hasn't
insane. Yeah.
been a thing.
How would anybody vote for something?
They've been voting on vibes.
Yeah.
On vibes.
Wow.
They've been voting on vibes, 100%.
Like reviews and whatnot.
Kind of, sort of like how audience takes to the movie, and then how the critics take to the movie, and then it's like, okay, cool. Well, this seemed more popular. But that also was part of the reason why the Oscars always felt slightly exclusionary, which is one of the reasons why I've really never watched the Oscars.
Yeah,
right.
Because a lot of times it just felt like certain movies were coming out just to be Oscar grabs, and then they would win and be like, well, no one really enjoyed that movie,
Right.
Yeah.
Because
there was a couple of decades.
Yeah. There's always there has to come a point where the audience satisfaction for a movie has to amount for something sometimes, and not just because an actor has never won an Oscar.
Right.
I'm not saying anybody specifically's name, Leonardo DiCaprio, but what I'm saying is
Amy Madigan.
it's important to give a level playing field. But the thing is, you have to have people voting that are cinephiles and just love movies.
Yeah, and this seemed to be more the awards. I disagreed with some of the selections, just because I was such a Sinners fan. But again, those movies were phenomenal.
Again, to be fair, because again, I can't sit here and say anything about the other movies because I never got to see Hamnet. I also just don't go to the movies as often anymore. I usually kind of wait till they release.
Okay.
But Sinners had to be reintroduced into the theaters because the want to watch the movie was so high.
And there was so much and so many layers to that movie that after having seen it the first time, I went home and dug up all the research and all the discussion about why the Irish vampires, spoiler alert, why the Irish vampires were so relevant in a story that was largely about the African-American community in the South, and why those two go together, because on their surface they seem to not, but yet culturally they share a lot of commonalities, and that was the point Ryan Coogler was trying to make.
Yeah. I mean, culture, because obviously for culture, for me, it hit a couple of really strong points. And my grandfather had just recently passed away when I saw it, and I actually cried at a scene when the guy tried to pay with wooden nickels.
Yes.
Because my grandfather would always reference about not letting people pay you in wooden nickels, and it was something that he said almost religiously. Like it would be something he would say almost every time in
Yeah.
conversations all the time. And
Huh.
it's a whole
So
thing.
that's a personal euphemism
So there,
that you grew up with that
yes,
Yeah.
really,
Well, that
really
was the slave chits. The
Yeah.
slave, is
Yeah.
what they were.
because I mean, in the 30s, like that, my great grandparents were
Mhm.
born in 1915. So
Yeah.
at the setting
Wow.
for that movie, my great grandparents, who only recently passed away in the past few years,
Mhm.
were adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was their second oldest. So he was born
Turn the music.
around that time.
Yeah.
Anyway, very, very intimate situations, like with the scene, like where what's the big guy's name?
Delroy.
I didn't see it.
The
but it
big
sounded like
guy,
I
the
need
one
to.
that was
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
yeah. I can't think of his actual name in the movie,
The
but
one who's the bodyguard at the
yeah,
juke joint.
he was the bouncer.
The bouncer. Yeah.
And like how him and his family were out literally picking cotton, and then he got off work to go do that. My grandparents and great grandparents picked cotton in the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Like they did that.
And what was this called?
Sinners.
Sinners. Marie, take note. We need to watch Sinners.
Oh,
Oh, you
oh,
do.
oh, dude.
Yes, you do.
Sinners is so, it was transcendent.
Yeah.
Some of the topics that it covered. And I think that's why I was such a big fan.
But I do think that I still need to personally go see Hamnet, because I do like. I'm gonna assume that it was a play on Hamlet's story with a little bit of a different cultural nuance to it, because because most of our stories somehow are always related to Shakespearean theater,
Yeah.
almost without fail.
It's literally the origin story of the play Hamlet.
Yes.
It's the origin story of
Okay.
that.
Nice.
And it's strong female.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
And it's actually women playing the women parts in this one this time, apparently.
Okay.
And to
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, with One Battle After Another, so extraordinarily strong female characters.
Mhm.
The women in One Battle After Another were just incredible. It was visually unlike, it was typical Paul Thomas Anderson, but sort of at the next level, where
Sure.
you had these wide, massive vistas, and then a car chase that very small in the center of the screen, or an accident or fight or whatever's going on. So it was very sort of stereotypically Paul Thomas Anderson in terms of the visuals. But the story was just
And
wild.
Sean Penn, hands down, deserved to win Best Supporting Actor. Hands down.
The three non-negotiables in my mind were Sean Penn for supporting actor, Jessie Buckley for best actress for Hamnet, and Michael B. Jordan for Sinners.
Yep.
Those to me, there was no possible way those weren't going to happen.
Right.
They were just that good.
Well
One of the reasons
deserved.
why I don't go watch Oscars, because for a long time, especially like back when I was in my early 20s, I would always go and like see like what movies were nominated for Oscars, and I'll try and go watch them. And that's when I started realizing I don't think this is unbiased voting. So I just kind of stopped. But
Yeah,
I've always
that's
got to go
fair.
back and try and like watch the movies, because I do like a wide spectrum of movies. I'm not the biggest horror fan if it doesn't have an actual like depth of story and premise. Sometimes it's just trying to scare you, or it's
Like
just trying to
just slasher or jump scare.
in the same way that people don't like nominating action movies a lot of times,
Mhm.
or animated movies, and the same thing. I know that I have that bias, so it's one of those things. But yeah,
Yeah, but horror, and to me, Sinners was not
it
a
wasn't
horror movie,
yeah.
even though it was really symbolic, the whole vampirism. But yeah.
So since you guys watched, kind of something I was interested in is, and heard snippets of, but did you guys see the tributes, like to the was it the Reinhardts
Ugh.
and
Carl
Rob
Reiner,
Reiner.
yeah, the Reiner, yeah,
Rob
Rob
Reiner,
and his wife, and then
Yeah.
Diane Keaton,
Diane
and
Keaton, and there's another one, right?
Redford.
Robert Redford.
Yep.
Yeah,
I did hear about that though. Yeah, I was like, man.
And if you
There
can
were
go
so many. We lost so many famous people last year.
Duvall, you look at a career.
Robert
Oh my
Duvall.
gosh.
Oh
Things
my
that he did.
gosh. Yeah.
But you can go find the clip of "I Lied," the song that was nominated from Sinners, that they did at the ceremony. That if you know the scene from the movie, the scene, capital T, capital S,
Yeah.
in the movie, they did a live version of that on stage at the Oscars that I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
I have to go back and watch that.
Well worth watching.
We just watched it because we turned the Oscars on late.
Yeah.
And then people were talking about that musical production. It's like, we didn't see that. So we had to
Go back and watch
go
it.
back and watch
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Coogler got his Oscar. It wasn't for Best Director, but I get Paul Thomas Anderson winning as well, and Coogler will get his.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
As soon as he casts Leonardo in a movie, because apparently James Cameron got his first Oscar in a movie with Leonardo for Titanic. Martin Scorsese got his first Best Director Oscar for
Was it Gangs of New York?
no, Departed.
Departed, yeah.
With that had Leo in
Which
it.
he should have gotten it for Gangs of New York instead.
And then PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, got his first with Leo in.
Oh, that's
so
funny.
basically, Ryan just needs to cast Leo, or MBJ will usurp Leo in the Academy.
Pull him over.
Yeah.
No, it's
phenomenal.
But-
Fun anyway. They're not political. Well, there were some politicals in there.
it's always
You got Jimmy Kimmel,
it's always
right?
Uh,
And Conan O'Brien. They threw their jabs.
yeah. Without saying the name. Without
Yes.
saying
And you know, it
his
goes
name.
they can relate to so many people, you know.
right. It it just says something when you can reference somebody without saying the name, and everybody knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It speaks, I think, louder than saying the name.
Absolutely.
The documentary that won, I think, was the short form documentary
Yeah.
about the rooms, the
Empty room.
empty room. Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors, was one of the executive producers.
Really?
His father was killed in Beirut back in the 80s. And so he's been very
Empty
pro
room was
gun
about
reform.
Uvalde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about anyway, but Steve Kerr was one of the executive producers for that movie.
Interesting.
He said he had nothing to do with the movie, but was really proud to be associated with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Duvall's definitely. It's still kind of sad because Secondhand Lines is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Great movie.
Yeah.
What movie?
Great.
Secondhand Lines.
Secondhand Lions with the old men sitting on the porch
And then Haley Joel Osment is like the grandson or whatever, and he goes and stays with them, and they like kind of teach him how to be like a man and like show him, and they do like all these little flashbacks like when they were younger, and they were like these French Foreign Legion guys and all these things. But the idea was Secondhand Lions because they also had an old lion that was just like all dying, and it's if you've never seen it,
it's a good one.
this is like one of 3 movies I would always recommend to anybody because it's a family film also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said Duvall was in that?
Yep.
And who was the other old man? with him?
Michael Caine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's good. I
Yeah.
would watch that again.
Kane's great name.
Yeah. Add that to the list. Make a note.
And he was, it came out, I think, like in the early 2000s, I believe. Because Haley Joel Osment is my age. And he was like 12 or 13.
I'm sure this was not even close to even being considered for an Oscar or anything, but I did watch a rom-com for the first time in a decade with the wife last night. That had Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock, and it was
The Proposal.
so entertaining. I chuckled. Took us off.
With Betty White dancing in the.
Oh
My God, I love
I'm going
that
to say
movie.
right now, one of the best movies, and I don't do rom-coms, one of the best movies I have ever seen.
It is. It's a great
I
movie.
did not stop laughing. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, I told Diane when we got together, she said she loves musicals. And I'm like, I don't watch musicals. Not a fan of musicals. And every time a musical soundtrack would come up, I'd start singing along with it. It's like, okay, maybe I do like musicals.
And he said, I won't watch rom-coms. So I've never been.
We've watched a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
But
some
that's a
others
good
that are
one.
on the list. She has good-naturedly watched Godfather 1 and Godfather 2 with me during my annual recurring viewing.
It insists
Which I
upon
still need
itself.
So I owe her
It insists upon itself.
some
It's not a big
rom-coms.
deal.
We did decide we need a tit for tat list.
Yeah.
Where
give
we
and take,
write. Yeah. We'll watch this
guess-
movie if you watch this
Guess which
movie.
list I claim dibs on.
Yeah.
We're just, she's got the tat list. We'll just leave it at that. But okay, what do you say? You want to dive into some politics? There's stuff going on around the world.
I will consider the fact that we ended the last episode on Godfather and started this one on. We've actually had about 30 minutes or so of podcast now uninterrupted of movie talk. That's impressive.
Yeah, it
For a
is.
political
Yeah.
podcast.
For a not a movie podcast.
because also everything is political,
And everything's
movies.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, and
Art.
one
Art
battle
is-
after another. You talk about a political, it's literally about this revolutionary group. And
I'm so glad you said that because out of curiosity, I had shown my book reading list to some people. I was like, hey, like, what would you say this, is structured around, do you feel like I'm comprehensive enough? Do you feel like I'm missing anything? And they had pointed out to me, while it was a really good breakdown of tyranny, authoritarianism, fascism, dark money, media control, history, all that. One thing I lacked is fiction, where, as in, obviously some givens, right? The Handmaid's Tale would probably be very applicable right now. Anything George Orwell, as we are feeling very Orwellian.
Yep.
Those are very close to your current sort of themed books.
They are, but I think.
But if you pulled a book I would recommend a book like The Women, by Kristen Hanna.
Uh-huh.
I've heard of that.
Which is about Vietnam.
The women in Vietnam.
Who've gone as nurses.
My big question though was why?
Why
the fiction though? Because at the end of the day, even if these are talking about the same things I'm learning about real life accounts, evidenced, right, based. But the thing that doesn't really reach in and teach, that a lot of fiction does, is the personal aspect of empathy that you get from the fiction. And I thought that was what probably was the neatest framework for me to make me rethink my entire approach
I love that.
to my studies. And I never even thought of that. I thought that was the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
The other E that I would say is generally missing from fiction is the human emotion in response to the things.
Or missing from nonfiction?
Missing from nonfiction, where you'll get more of an emotional response out of the characters.
Late or
you're seeing it through human eyes as opposed to analytical eyes.
Yeah, with analytical eyes, everything's a little more poignant, a little more concise, and to the point of, this is how it happened. This is
facts.
Yeah, the facts.
Facts, not feelings. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So empathy and emotion, I think those two go hand in hand.
That's fantastic. So 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. Fahrenheit 451.
And why Fahrenheit 451?
Yes, quite.
That's the temperature at which paper burns.
Those are the last two books that I had purchased here.
And did you read them?
Both short, both easy.
Yeah.
1984.
Two different emotions for me. From loved both of them.
But immediately these are getting bumped up to the top of the TBR list. So the next book I finish, I'm going to pick one of those up. And I'm thinking, honestly, my 9-year-old, she's sharp as a tack. I don't see any reason for me not to read these to her.
I don't.
Unless anybody here would object.
I don't think
Animal Farm, I think, would land
more than.
Yeah, I think it would hold her interest.
Well, she's already read. She loves Charlotte Webb.
Yeah, Animal Farm is this most recent reading of Animal Farm. It really stood out how almost frozen in time it was with regard to the political situation involving the ascension of communism in Russia, the Soviet Union, and the post-World War II political world. For some reason, this time reading it really jumped out that, boom. I knew who all these characters represented previously, but it really, I don't want to say it felt dated, but a little bit. Whereas 1984, Handmaid's Tale, Fahrenheit 450.
Yeah.
Are you going to read with her or to her? Perfect.
I'll probably read.
I was going to say either one in 1984, but if you're reading to her, so you can kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
Because
I don't have. I just have the regular editions. I know that there's young reader editions out there too. So at some point after this, I might get her a young reader edition.
If I were starting with one of those two, I would start with Fahrenheit 451, just because it's a more engaging story. It's a little more entertaining.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Whereas 1984 just so freaking heavy.
Yeah.
It is.
It just starts and just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
She gets it though.
And it goes deeper into.
You can kind of lose yourself with what you're actually paying attention to sometimes when you're.
That's the sort of, I don't want to say hazard, but with fiction, that
Fahrenheit 451 twisted for me, and it was like, whoa! And I'm like, this is what our life is. This is
when they start talking about the video walls, you may rethink your oversized TV that you have mounted on the wall at home.
It seems to be a mission right now to try to save all the banned books.
Oh gosh,
yeah,
and that list is growing faster than I can keep up with it.
Yeah.
What's the Slaughterhouse-Five? is another tremendous book.
It's on my shelf. I haven't gotten to it yet.
But that's one. And what did you say that just like we have Stephen King listed as its own genre.
Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut
is the
his
same
own
way. He's his own
genre.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not reading the
And
story.
so it goes.
Yeah, and so it goes.
I love that you brought up the aspect of you needing the necessity of needing to read fiction to actually be able to gain empathy, because when you're reading fiction as opposed to nonfiction books that are just recounting history, when nonfiction, you're locked into a character's point of view no
Yes.
matter what. And that's why it's not unsurprising that a lot of people that lack empathy, one, don't read fiction novels, but two, they only watch like when you look at Star Wars again as an example, as just a movie, it's just an action movie. You just see these guys going up against those guys, but there's a separation there. When you're locked into somebody's point of view, there's no separation anymore. Now you're having to think the way they think because you're listening to their internal dialogue.
Yeah.
What we talked about at the very beginning, it was like, oh, the internal dialogue is missing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's not.
Yeah.
As opposed to like if you read a book and then watch the show, it's like it separates you from this. So that's why it's like if you're a fan of a book, it's harder to enjoy the show
Yeah.
or adaptations because it's separating you from who you were so intimately and emotionally connected to.
And that's exactly why most Stephen King doesn't translate well to the big screen, because there's so much inner turmoil, inner dialogue, inner conflict that you really can't represent on the screen. Like when they did The Gunslinger, the first book of the Dark Tower series, I was ecstatic that they cast Idris Elba, one of my all-time favorite actors. Love Idris Elba. But the story didn't lend itself to anything other than the expressions on his face, and he expressed the things that were in alignment with what the story was, but you had to know the story to know that. It
You
was
needed
almost
the
like
inner dialogue going.
it was almost like a wasted performance. It was a brilliant performance,
but
you had to know the
you
story.
know what he was going through. Because again, if he's a stoically quiet character, there's still things going on up here, but they're not going to be saying things on screen.
Yep.
That's true. Would you say that there would be some exceptions? Like, for example, you had some box office hits like It.
Sure.
Right?
It has swung and missed a couple of different times.
Yeah.
Just like The Stand has done the same thing.
I was going to say, but what about like Tommy Knockers and Pet Sematary?
I hated Tommy Knockers, my least favorite Stephen King book. Pet Sematary, they did an exceptional job. It was also early Stephen King.
What about Misery?
Misery, spectacular.
I loved the movie.
And I
didn't
want
read
to
the
say that was a Reiner movie. Speaking of Rob Reiner, he directed that. But yeah, Misery was spectacular because most of the inner dialogue, there were physical manifestations that were going on, as he's trying to escape and whatever. Shining was tremendous, but that was also Kubrick's vision of The Shining, which wasn't exactly aligned with Stephen King. Yeah.
Way more interesting. Maybe almost like if today, what's his name? The guy that did Edward Scissorhands and
Johnny Depp.
Jim Henson. No.
We are all brain farting.
Nightmare Before.
Same Nightmare Before Christmas. Help me out.
Come on. His name is.
When we get to it,
he always has what's her name and all.
Because he was married to her with
watching
her.
and listening to this right now.
They're like they're
screaming at the phone, screaming.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna bother me. Oh, it's gonna bother me.
Joe, you looking it up?
I'm cheating.
What is?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is bothering me.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
I know, right? Like how? So it almost made me forget where I was.
Oh, but you're talking about Helen Bonham Carter.
Say it would be the equivalent of like Tim Burton getting his hands on it and doing his rendition of it today. To me. To make us all
no, but it's funny. It's funny you brought that up though, because I actually made a TikTok a long time ago about men needing to read more fiction novels because it helps you with your empathy, but also your emotional regulation. So it's like if you're reading a book that has a female character as the lead, which most guys probably wouldn't in general, but it allows you to, at that point, assuming it's also written well by either a male writer that can actually write female characters well, or a female writer, you actually can start to kind of learn just more about women in general, and it helps you interact with them better. It helps you understand the internal dialogue, because if a woman is writing a female character, the internal dialogue is going to be pretty close.
Authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with guys, and which is why it's like it's hard to see that in the overlap with men writing female characters and women writing male characters.
Two perfect examples of that in my mind are the Women by Kristen Hanna, which was tremendous, and Diane's sister-in-law's sister was a nurse in Vietnam, and she said it was very authentic. But the woman's voice, internal dialogue, very authentic. The other one is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler.
I'm still wrecked by that one,
dude.
I
Right?
know.
I think that was also recommended to me.
Check this out.
Oh,
We went to
good.
a zoo.
Again, not one for your daughter.
We were out
but-
visiting, went to a zoo with my granddaughter Mila, and drove down 18 and then whatever, I can't remember the other road, and 101 to get back to their house. The next day, we started listening to that road, and the road that...
No, to Parable of the Sower.
What did I say?
The road.
Oh, Parable. I meant we were on the road from Parable of the Sower, and that Lauren, the main character, had walked, and we had just driven those roads.
And it was like,
and it really, it was unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect book.
Unbelievable. Great book.
And very political.
But yeah, that empathy though, because you feel what they're feeling and you process it so differently.
Written from a woman's perspective, or a female character who's a young woman, and written from a woman of color's perspective in a weird futuristic world. Very prescient, given it was written in the 90s, 93, I think. And it was set in 2025 to 2027.
Our modern day.
And it was like, oh, damn, yeah, this is landing.
Could happen.
No, very, very much could happen.
Look what kind of books, though, I think get read by guys that do read, right? That aren't necessarily into, say, the fantasy or the sci-fi.
48 Laws of Power,
they're
How to
reading
Win Friends.
Nothing, not to knock these authors, because they're great authors. It's like Douglas Preston, Lincoln Child, but they're generally reading like Tom Clancy, Clive Cussler, James Rollins, where there's always this 007-ish character that's both, very patriarchal in a way because they're masculine. They womanize, they are government agents, but are both intelligent and
but they cook
great with weapons. Or they cook, or they have they
clean the
cars. Dirk Pitt lives in an airplane hangar and drives classic cars, but there's this portrayal of then romanticizing that style
patriarchal
of man, that style of dude who especially also is a proponent of war and battle. Right. So it's almost like we go from the idea of He-Man and G.I. Joes as kids, Ninja Turtles, to that.
Oh, well, okay, so posing that question, what is a good male author that has a more well-rounded male figure? Can you come up with a book that has that?
That's not young adult, because I do think of like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter are good male figures, but they were young.
But they're written by women.
And written by
not Percy Jackson.
I'm going to remove Harry Potter because you go back and read those books and they're so poorly written.
Yeah.
And the characters are so poorly written that it's like, while it's one of my favorite stories of all time because it got me through a very trying part of my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't recommend the books to like young readers because they're just not good books.
Yeah.
And she's
they're
just
not
a
very
good
well
person.
written books. Those books have a ghostwriter. I don't know who it is, but they have a ghostwriter. I don't know who wrote them, but they wrote them poorly. Yeah. No, but it's just like
the ones you read were a ghostwriter. Yeah.
So but no. Oops. So anyway, Grant, I wouldn't tell someone not to read them. I just couldn't, in good faith, recommend those books to like budding readers, right?
Yeah.
But if you've never read books before and it's like your first books, sure. Because like the Percy Jackson books are so much better, well written. Rick Riordan is a fantastic author for children. If we're talking like young adults to adults, I kind of go back to him a lot, but Brandon Sanderson is an absolutely impeccable writer when it comes to both the male and female perspective.
Good to know.
He's so good at writing those.
Cerulean Sea. Oh God.
God.
Drawing a blank.
Let's cut.
House in the Cerulean Sea.
Bye. We've had him join us.
I'm literally like, I'm picturing the cover right now.
Yep. Oh,
I know.
I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna cheat. TJ Klune.
Thank God. No,
Yeah.
we need to cheat because we need to be calling out these real people.
And that's a really, really good question, though.
Like,
Diane
who would be a
is
But I
good
like Brandon Sanderson that you said that because we sell, like today I just took an order for one. We sell so many of his books.
Mhm.
So I'm glad he's that way, that they're very
Yes.
well-rounded characters.
Men and women both enjoy him to an astounding degree. I feel like horror books, Anne Rice is
Yep.
it's a great author.
Yep.
She crafts characters. She doesn't write them, she crafts
Oh yeah,
these
you
characters.
can smell their
Yeah,
perspiration.
you're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh." These are for, like, horror novels. She writes horror I'm not the biggest horror novel fan, but I am a fan of
Anne Rice is brilliant.
like, her vampire novels because, like, I'm obsessed with vampires, but those aren't horror
That's
to
a
me,
good question
but
because the first one that came to mind is The Road, which is one of my all-time
Yeah.
favorite books.
Cormac McCarthy.
Because of the sensitivity of the man, which is his character's name in the book. But
True. That was a
Cormac,
good.
but Cormac McCarthy as a person probably wasn't a good dude, or wasn't. There were questions about his past,
I just thought of one.
but that book, the sensitivity that he wrote into the main character in that book was pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
I only saw the miniseries, but Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry, Gus, that character was so sensitive and kind.
Okay,
Anybody see
I only
Never
know
read
of the
it.
story, but I've never read or
Same.
Robert Duvall played him in the
Oh, yeah.
miniseries, and it was
Say less.
oh my God, yeah. But such a great character. So I would think in the book it followed the book.
Mhm.
I don't know.
No, that's definitely fair.
That's
Anyway, but
that's a-
I just
I just
yeah.
can't think of anybody because even when I think of like anybody, like kind of another direction of characters that they follow, superheroes, but they're again portraying as being somebody who's a hero
characteristics
character.
that, yeah.
Mhm.
It's characteristics of being strong and mighty. And where is the intelligent, thoughtful? I want to see
John
the nice-
Lesquois is another good author. It's spelled Lescroart. John Lesquois. At first blush, they're very kind of Clancy-esque, only it's not international stuff. It's he was a police officer, became an attorney. His character, and a very thoughtful, very sensitive. He wasn't the typical rough and tumble, macho kind of guy. So his characters are a little more sensitively written.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a really, really good question.
So we
I feel like
attention.
unfortunately the only way to find that is to venture out of your standard
Yeah.
traditional and
You have
kind of
to.
go to the LGBTQ side because you're going to find characters, but they're going to be portrayed as gay.
Well,
Yeah.
and like TJ Klune, he's a gay author.
Yeah.
So he includes gay characters, that's not the main subject of the story is
Right.
the
Yeah.
fact they're
They just
gay. They
happen-
just happen to be gay.
Just kind of like life,
Yeah,
they just
because
happen to have
exactly,
friends that are.
people just exist. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
one of the other issues too, because like that is the one genre that I can't do, not LGBTQ, it's romance. If the primary premise is romance, I can't read it. Not for a second. I can't do it. Like I love that people love love. I want people to love love, but I just can't do romance novels.
No,
And
I think that romance
Yeah, I
is
do,
the
yeah.
equivalent of the type of book that Josh was describing, the rough and tumble macho
it's
international
that
man of
too.
mystery.
because I don't read those.
I
But
think
on the other side-
romance books are the antithesis. Those are the same books,
Right.
It always
because it romanticizes what a person should be like in those
Yes.
books. So either the rough and
tall,
tumble
dark and handsome
Yes.
portrayal of the man who comes to the rescue of the female who is
Yes.
in distress.
But she's usually pretty bright,
Yeah.
like Hallmark movies
Yeah.
where but
Oh, sorry, Marie. I know your favorite are like romance novels and Hallmark movies.
There's a book called
there's a huge genre a huge
Right.
community for that.
Oh yeah, it really is.
There's a book called Why Men Are the Way They Are, and it starts off, it's laying out sort of the conditioning in our society. It's a nonfiction, but it talks about if you want to really know what men and women value, the according to the hypothesis in this book, they went and looked at magazines. This was written in probably the 80s, late 80s. So let's go to look at magazines and see what advertisements run over a period of time and what the common themes are in magazines that are predominantly read by women and magazines that are predominantly read by men. And those will show you, because you're not going to generally go shop or buy a product that doesn't represent, their ad image is something that you don't want.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
just going to draw you to
Yeah.
the ones that are effective are the ones that draw you and bring people in. So that's really sort of the whole premise of the book. That's how you can tell what men and women, and specifically the focus was on men, why men are sort of drawn and shaped into believing you've got to climb the corporate ladder and you got to make a lot of money and you got to have the fanciest car, and
Looking
that's
for the American dream.
the only way you're ever gonna have a partner is if you do these things. And so anyway, I don't know how, I haven't read it in a long time. I don't know how dated it would be,
That I
but
It's good.
ties back to the same concept we were just saying about your book.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to the idea that they're always framing things as what is the traditional family, right? And now to bring it back into politics, right? Now we're looking at, we see why it's such a hard discussion to have with so many people, why it's almost like faux pas to discuss or say the word traditional family, because like, what's wrong with the traditional family? Well, on the surface, nothing. But when you
Right.
think of the fact that there really also is no such thing as a traditional family, because every family structure, whether it's multi-generational, whether it's, a LGBTQ, whether it is a age gap indifference, whether it is some cultures still do arranged marriages. In fact, I know of friends of mine that are Indian that have gone back to find a mate through their parents in an arranged marriage. Not all of them. Some of them are as, acclimated to America and accustomed to what we do here that that's not their thing, but some have. So, there is no such thing as a traditional family, I don't think, anymore,
The thing is
or ever was.
I know.
it's again going back to something we talked about. Saying the idea of traditional family is in itself another dog whistle.
Yeah,
Yes.
always back to the dog whistles.
Because the idea of the current administration's traditional marriage is going to be white male, white woman, 2, 3, 4 kids, woman stays home, trad wife thing, the trad wife thing becoming more prevalent, the pushing out of the other.
And Christian,
Yes, yes. Invariably so, yes.
fundamental or evangelical.
But that's the thing though, yeah. It's like you have, at least in our family, my entire family on both sides always been very matriarchal in nature.
Yeah.
Right. Everything always hinges on the oldest woman in the family and where she is, and we all congregate around her, or she is the primary
Yeah.
facilitator of the situations. Obviously, until they get too old to really do much, and then we just move everything around, and everyone starts taking on the roles that she would normally do everything for
Yeah.
anyway. So
Is that also sort of a cultural thing as well? I think that where the strong matriarch is, everybody defers to that wisdom.
yes, and there actually have been conversations that I've listened to and I've been a part of where is that because that's how we want to be, or is that person trying to cling to a sense of normality for the family by being that one person that has the most drive to want to keep the family unit together?
You don't think it's that a lot of, because everybody else is recognizing that person as the go-to, also sees everybody else gravitate towards. So, I mean, whether they're wanting to be that position or not, it may just be like almost an organic family. Like this is our, I don't
It's
know,
kind of both
It's
because
the best slipper thrower in the
Yeah.
house too.
yeah, no, absolutely.
the checklist.
But the scenario was because
Checklist.
you'll see it because it definitely happened when my great grandmother passed away a few years ago. Like it became harder to get everybody together.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
So then all the different gatherings for Thanksgiving, Christmas, they started getting fragmented a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it started congregating around a different woman in the family.
Okay.
So it was
So a new matriarch basically.
and like just smaller ones to figure out like where everything is. Because again, obviously with the current state of like the economy and everybody moving around, because
Yeah.
my grandmother, my great grandparents had owned that plot of land for 60 years. So it was a common place to go. And I know different people have different families, whereas like there's at least one person that hasn't moved. And so more often than not,
Yeah.
you tend to kind of go to that person because everybody knows where that person is.
Yeah.
You don't have to give out 30 different invites every year for everybody to go to one place.
Yeah.
So, but that's just, again, for my family. I'm not saying that's like the collective of like the Black community, but I'm just saying that's just my family.
Yep.
I like to make sure that I'm establishing an anecdotal experience.
So you weren't elected spokesman or anything.
like Jamal Bryant saying that the Target boycott's over. Absolutely not. We were all like, he's not the president of
We
black
didn't
people.
vote on that.
No, absolutely not. I was like, this boycott, if anything, we're boycotting harder.
What is the NAACP's official stance?
Yeah, no, they are a great proponent of obviously like black issues and pushing the black person forward, because by definition of like how our country is built, if it benefits black people, it's going to benefit every subgroup in the country. Period.
Completely.
And that's part of it. So it's like, well, like again, we have no collective person who's in charge of us. We're not a cult like MAGA is. It's just like, someone says jump and everybody jumps. It's like, wait, I don't like that. Absolutely not. So
not in a jumping mood.
you know what? I'm staying home.
By the way, remind me, you mentioned Thanksgiving. Remind me to tell you a pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie story when we wrap this up.
Oh yes, invariably so.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
Good.
Shout out to Mahesh.
Yeah.
But therein lies, like different political aspects about how that affects the country, because you can't inherently, from, again, this isn't me saying this, just like anecdote, this is like from the black perspective, you cannot dismantle the negative aspects of the U.S. conglomeration of its imperialism and its military industrial complex, and how now we're paying more effective tax rates than billionaires. You cannot dismantle that without acknowledging the anti-blackness that allowed those institutions to thrive.
Well, what you said when you said that by granting rights to black people across the board helps everybody else that's disaffected, or rather dispossessed, right?
Yes.
I think when it comes down to it, that shows across the board that there's nothing more American to me than racism, and everything that perpetuates having a second-class citizen to any degree. If we all don't have equal rights, it starts with the racism. It starts there, and because racism is so, I want to say, they're in denial.
It's
right?
very genetic.
Right? It's very genetic.
Ooh,
And it's communal, very communal and genetic. But I would say that you can find that pretty much across the board, any legislation is going to that gives rights to people is what we're fighting for. The reverse of that. But everything else, if you see that it withholds from anybody, at the end of the day, there's still going to be something that connects that, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, to American racism.
Yes. And I think I said it before I left. Again, it's not just us. That's where the prevalence of the model minority myths even really starts. Is like it's giving somebody else an other to look down on. So that way they will assimilate into that culture.
Always.
Because again, when the colonizers first came over to these lands, what did they start doing? They started creating militias to do what? Wipe out indigenous people.
Yeah.
That's why the U.S. military, the U.S. Army itself, was created in its inception.
Correct.
Was to go and just wipe them all out.
Just like the police were created.
Slave catchers, because you already had sheriff's departments which handled law. So it was like, okay, cool, somebody's wanted. Okay, we'll go find that guy, throw him in jail.
Yep.
Police were just, okay, so you guys are patrolling, but they're all free now, so go round them up anyway, and then we can put them back in slavery because they're doing. But anyway, but the idea is the collective good that the Civil Rights Act did for every minority in the country now, allowing other people to leave their countries of origin to come here to be able to thrive, to be able to go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
All of that is still indicative, going back to all the movies that we just talked about in the beginning.
Yeah. Correct.
All of that. Right, this separation. When you look at Sinners, you look at the one Asian family in their store that was again on the black side.
I haven't seen the movie yet. So.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So and so like
that's early in the movie.
It's not a spoiler.
And
I'm okay. I'm not big.
And you also, if you pay attention, everyone's like, "Oh, there's no Latin American representation at that point."
Yes,
there is. The store was shut down because of what was going on with the expatriation of Latinos prior to World War II, when they then started the Bracero program again.
That was the Operation Wetback?
Yes, effectively speaking, that's what that was.
Yes.
But I just don't
That was the official term.
No, yeah, no,
Right,
100%.
let's make sure that
That's-
make that clear.
That's the
that
official
was
term
the
of it.
official term of it.
Yes.
Wow.
Doesn't
Yes,
mean I want to say the W word.
Yeah,
You don't.
Yeah.
that's where that slur kind of comes from too.
Yeah.
So then during World War II, when all the draft and stuff, and then guess who was going to fight the war? Black people were also getting drafted. So then guess what happened? A lot of what they were doing with the economy, with the agricultural jobs, they created the Bracero program, which just allowed people to come over from Mexico. They had an agreement with the Mexican government.
Yep.
They came over and they
Come over
worked our
looking-
fields.
They worked our fields. And what did they do after a hard day working the fields?
They would get shortchanged.
I would say that they also like to decompress, de-stress, and
Yes.
enjoy a nice little marijuana. Like at the end of the day, we're also kind of going to circle back to something on this, I think, because what you just brought up is exactly kind of something I wanted to bring up too.
Today's
before we
episode
wrap
is
it up.
brought to you by marijuana. apparently.
Vaporverse in Louisville. Shout out to the Vaporverse. No, but that is also a rooted law in El Paso that started because of controlling the flow of Mexicans coming over here for work. And Harry J. Anslinger, I believe, had been fighting, trying to criminalize marijuana and was not succeeding so well, even with all their propaganda and all of this, again rooted in racism, was a way to control Mexicans, but it also meant a way to control the jazz scene in New Orleans on the Mississippi River. That's a port city that was probably bringing in the majority of marijuana from across ports, and a law rooted in racism, something we're literally still fighting and dealing with today.
Right.
At the end of this month, all smokables are being criminalized again here in Texas, even though that's my livelihood. That's 70% of my sales in my shop is my smokable THCA, flour, wax, shatter, concentrate, syrups. They're keeping edibles, they're keeping drinks, but they're getting rid of all of our smokables.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, this is again the continued criminalization of and demonization of this
Vicky,
It's another way to search cars and
it's all driven still from the original
racism.
Right.
racism.
Vicky posted a video today specifically calling for a reversal or a change to the marijuana laws that
Really?
they're absurd. Yeah, Vicky
Vicky-
Goodwin
Vicky Goodwin did.
running
running
for lieutenant
for
governor.
yeah.
Yeah, we need
currently she's a runner.
Well, because
We
that
need that.
lieutenant governor is the one pushing
It
this
is
whole agenda.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick.
Yep.
So Dan Patrick, just wanted to get some numbers for clarity's sake on this. Just for example, like I said, 3/31 is the last day right now. So for people that don't know, like, support your local shops, go out there and help them get rid of their inventory, because they're going to be losing a lot of money
Wow.
of stuff that's not going to be able to be legally
But then
sold.
are people going to be arrested for using it?
for having
Well, at the end of the day, be responsible with it anyways. You don't need to be driving around with it. You don't need to be driving and smoking. You know,
Yeah,
and again,
it's
but
true.
again, also, they're not banning. This isn't a safety issue or a health issue, because they're keeping the edibles. They're keeping smoke. All they're doing is redefining their definition for THC versus THCA.
Probably because they can't tell the difference.
They don't know the difference.
Right.
Because
They don't care to know. It's not that they don't. It's that they don't care to know.
and they don't care to know. Correct.
Yeah.
So we're looking at potentially, I mean, I know in Louisville, as an average city, we've got 7 to 8 vape shops this will affect, right? One city, one small town, 7, 8 vape
I
shops.
think there's 7, 8 vape shops, 7 or 8
Right.
vape shops on every
in
block
Denton,
in
right?
Denton.
Yeah.
I know.
So
Just on every per block.
Yeah. So not counting college towns, like we're looking at hundreds to potentially over 1,000 plus shops in the state of Texas, means thousands of families affected by this.
Mhm.
You know, how can you say that you're pro jobs and pro economy
When you're making things
when you're
that-
making it hard? You're literally
Well, maybe liquor stores can expand and you can
Yeah,
transition into
that's
that.
really
Yeah.
the whole point. Is
Well-
like to save liquor.
ba.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that.
Big
Now,
money lobbyists.
as far as the lobbyists go,
Right.
Dan Patrick
Right.
received $250,000 from, I'm probably going to butcher his last name, but John Now. He is the corporate CEO, Texas Distribution of Anheuser-Busch.
Yep. Yep.
$250,000 to lobby against this, or to proponent for this bill to ban, as well as Texas Original, which is the original and main monopoly of Texas medical marijuana. So even within our same camp, being that they are fighting and lobbying with Dan Patrick against recreational marijuana in Texas.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So at the end of the day, it's a multi-front assault
Right.
from multi-lobbyists. But, a friend of mine who brought this up to me, and this is going to affect him. I'm not going to name names. He comes in, he's a regular at the shop, but he's an old friend of mine from like high school. And he comes in and he is the opposite side of the political camp from me completely. And he brought it up. He was like, so you voted, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, are all the way down. I'm like, absolutely not. Because guess what? We've been in Texas for how many decades now? And what's going on? Like, you realize like this is going away and it's them that are doing it to us.
Right.
Right.
Who does he think's doing it?
Exactly. Well, I mean, he also, you're going to watch the show, I know, buddy. So I'm going to bring it up. Don't take this the wrong way personally, but we were going through his rabbit holes and he was bringing up, this is not my tinfoil hat, but he was bringing up the Hadron Collider creating black holes that put us in a parallel universe that has totally flipped everything. And that's why he went from being a Democrat to a Republican.
He's doing more than smoking marijuana.
So cool dude, old friend of mine. But you know what I did? I sat him at the shop last night. And because we've got a nice little lounge in the back of the employee area, I put our podcast on YouTube and he sat back there and watched our podcast for about 3.5 hours of Circle the Wagons. And at the end of that, he was like, man, you make a lot of sense.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone died, by the way. Also, if that's why you can't see me anymore.
Oh.
There we go. Yeah, we could have plugged you in.
I've got it.
We are we're about the top of the hour, so maybe to dial back in.
Might not be much left for us here, but while we're still here though.
But I do want to point out you mentioned in centers the lack of
sure camera and
Latin represent that'll split. It's going to split y'all. You both can't be in the middle.
Okay.
Anyway, there was a tamale, and this was again part of the reason why Ryan Coogler is such a genius. There was a tamale shop, and people questioned it. Why was there this tamale shop in this town, and that was predominantly black? One Asian couple had a store, had a couple of businesses going. Why is this tamale shop there? That must have been an oversight. No, that was very intentional and deliberate, because the Mexican community had been in there and were bringing tamales in, and that they sold tamales on the street or in the community.
Mm-hmm. But because they kept losing their shops, that's why now tamales are normally just sold out of people's like trucks and like that, because that's a generational thing that happened. Well, why would we set up a tamale shop when they might shut us down again?
Yep.
So now families will just go and make a ton of them. Now it became like a cultural thing for like Latin American families that like to make tamales as a collective. And then like when we're out drinking, all of a sudden the tamale lady comes. Yes, can I get some pork and chicken, please? Can I get the green sauce? Thank you very much. Because
the best tamales in the world, other than the ones my mom made. We actually rolled tamales one day. Yeah, we were lied to. We were told the masa had lard in it, and it did not. So we made an entire batch with a smoked pork shoulder and combined with pork and beef, I think, where we'd smoked and was inside the tamales. They were going to be spectacular, except the masa had no lard. So
what kind of masa are you using?
It was from
like a corn masa, or
masa is corn.
Well, I mean, we do my mom's Guatemalan style tamales. They'll do different types of masas though. So they do like a potato masa, which is, we'll call them pachas de papas. So then they wrap it in the big banana leaves. I don't know if you've seen the Guatemalan or
no, but I'm so hungry.
I'm telling you right now,
so good.
Like instead of the short in the dry corn husks and small, like kind of hand holdable tamale style, you unwrap your banana leaf tamale and eat it out of the banana leaf. Because and when it's steamed, it's soft and moist, it's succulent, it is rich, and I'm starving as well. So
Rich again, different dish, different culture. Point being, we made them, but make sure if you're rolling your own tamales, make sure you put lard in the masa.
Invariably so. But no, it is interesting to see like the different cultural things that were placed in that movie specifically, because everything had a purpose, everything had a point. And for a lot of people, that's why I might have felt very disjointed at times, because there were a lot of things that unless you just understood about like experiencing the stories that we get passed down to, like it would just feel like you don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was by design, because it's like, this is bringing you fully into Black culture of
Yeah.
what
Wow.
was going
I
on.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
It's definitely, and one thing I think is really important, that being this is a political podcast,
Mhm.
we've talked a lot about movies today. That I
Books.
think is really what we're looking at societally, is things appear disjointed because that way I can keep the others from connecting.
Yes.
If I have 4 different others and I keep them disjointed, disconnected, then I can be stealing from all of them and nobody knows the difference.
Yeah, that's all
Nobody's big
minority.
enough to fight
Correct.
back.
If I can recommend a book, if anybody can help me with the author, I know his last name I think is Metzel.
Brad
but it's
Meltzer?
not Metzel. I think it's John Metzel. But the book is Dying of Whiteness. One
I've heard of
one of the best books I read last year.
Huh.
That was eye opening for me. I think one thing too is I believe it's his book. And I hope I don't get this wrong. It might be confusing this with another one that's similar.
Metzel, yeah.
But he did actually talk about my hometown in this book and some police brutality and things that happened in my home county.
Mhm.
And he brought up cities and street names of little
Wow.
townships that I grew up in, and recognized it as one of the most racist counties in Michigan. And when I think about where I grew up and who I grew up around,
That
I'm like,
makes
to
sense.
read that
There you go.
from a
Right.
writer and feel like I'm deconstructing, I'm trying to realize and come to some self-realization, and then to read that in a book about this subject and hear somebody else refer to my lived experience through somebody else's lived experiences.
Yeah.
Was
Mhm.
very, very eye-opening. I definitely recommend that book for anybody interested in understanding a little more of the lived Black experience in American racism.
All right.
And what we can probably do, I don't know if we can, is if everybody will text what book you talked about,
Yeah.
we can put a link and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can, so that people who
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen
are
to the
watching
podcast, yeah.
or listening to the podcast can see what books we talked about and what movies we referred
Yeah.
to.
That's what
Yeah.
we do
So-
on Bookish Friends.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
This is
absolutely.
a great one. I love that we went to books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Well,
this.
we covered
Books,
a lot of
movies,
ground because
politics,
all of those things are political.
Yeah.
We can say they're not, but we say, well, I just want to escape from everything is politics.
Yeah.
Everything affects our life. Everything is interconnected. So great topic. Like I
Yeah.
said, we're already running up over an hour.
Mhm.
Joelle, it was phenomenal to have you back in the house.
Yes,
Good
it
looking in the eye, my
was.
friend.
Feels great. Feels great to be back, you know.
Josh,
And if you can join us remotely when you're away.
If there may come some times where I will be able to join in remote. It just kind of depends, like especially on days that I'll have, like, let's say watch and I have to like stay overnight for watch. I'll just turn my phone on and just be, oh cool, I'm on watch. It's midnight here in Japan, but hey, how's it going? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
definitely can do that.
well, we'll
Just
be
take me
back.
to Japan with you.
Yeah, there you go.
Put him in your duffel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just a little guy.
Well, we are going to be back. We're shooting every 2 weeks. We made a minor schedule adjustment due to the time demands that have popped up on us.
On the campaign trail.
The campaign trail starting to take its
Yeah.
toll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing every other Tuesday. We're going to be getting together. May not always be in person, so that's why this one is
Yeah.
so particularly special.
Yeah.
About
good
Joe
about
Mace.
it.
Well, I'm gonna come find you.
Make sure you get your mail-in ballot. Anyway, Schwartz, final parting shots before we wrap this up. Call it a day.
Parting shots, guys. Really, is this really the last
50
time we're going to be in this building?
Oh,
doing this?
Maybe.
It might
Maybe.
be.
Last
we
time
just
seeing these
don't
four
know.
walls.
Yeah, we
I
still
mean,
just.
it'll probably be for me at least.
Yeah, with Joelle.
Yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
technically supposed to be flying out next weekend at some
Okay.
point,
Crazy.
but I have no idea. It's a whole thing. But anyway, yeah, maybe next weekend. But
Wow.
yeah, this might be my last time here.
Man.
Could be the last time here in this building for Patchouli Joe's, but the
Might
spirit
not
of
be.
Patchouli Joe's will live on. We know we're going to be working
Absolutely.
with True Leaf Studios here in Denton, doing some pop-ups. Charlie's going to be doing some there. We may have a new Patchouli Joe's may have a
Location.
new home. We just don't know.
Fingers
Things are still up
crossed.
in the air, and that's okay. You made the point earlier when we were talking, Joelle. Everything doesn't last forever. If you can give your best in the moment and live for that, then that's kind of the best we can do. And
Yeah.
and if we lead with love,
cool.
Yeah, this is baby heart.
Weird.
Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. The Zennials
wait,
and the
'cause
kids,
you-
they do this
You
now.
do the half heart, right?
They do
Oh,
like
a
the half
half?
part, yeah,
Yeah.
and then they like put it together with other people.
So you can put it together.
Uh-huh.
Do the finger one.
Oh wait, no, they do this one. No, sorry, they do this one.
Yeah.
That's us.
I can't do
I don't know that
I don't
one.
Yeah.
understand
No,
I don't know
it's-
that one.
how my
it's-
fingers
Well, I
move
do
that
it.
way.
This is the way I
Oh,
do
that's
it, but it's
when
wrong.
you straighten the fingers out.
It looks more like a heart than the other one.
You're
Yeah.
supposed to curve the middle. Yeah, I do it.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Love.
But I just
Love.
Love,
but anyway.
Always the answer.
peace.
Peace.
But anyway,
Peace.
love you guys. Bye.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the Patchouli Podcast Network.